Welcome back to our mini-series on Git here on our Casual Conversations. Last week, we did a setup with a workspace and connected it to Git. This week, we will look more into the basics of committing, pull, and push, and see what happens when you move files around and stuff like that. So let's continue. And now if I click the Git repository, it's actually figuring out that this is in the Git, and we have a file that is this workspace file. It's not part of the initial commit, and we can see that in our fork as well. If we just wait a second, it will. Now we can click in here. We can see that the workspace folder has been added. So if I now stage that and say adding workspace, but actually I don't want to add the workspace because you might run this in a different editor. So I don't want to send the workspace over to you in this case. So what I can do is I can add this to ignore. So I can either do all workspace files or just this file or custom pattern, but I'm going to add it to the ignore. So now the git ignore file has been updated with this line. And we can see that if we go into our code here, you can actually see that this line has been updated, and you can see this green edit here that shows that this has been added. So what we can do now is either go in here and say add stage changes, or we can go in here and say stage. So it doesn't matter where we are. We're just telling the Git repository to do this.
Which is?
So here is remove workspace files, or we could just do ignore workspace files.
Maybe you should explain what you mean by staging files.
Staging is what you do to decide what changes you want to add to a commit. So I think we're going to go through it fairly well later on. But unstaged files, if I unstage this one and I cannot commit. So if I stage it, this is these files that are down here. I could have multiple files up here that have changed, but I only want to commit the changed files, that some of the changed files. So I staged them. So now I know that these are the things that go under this title, and I commit that. Now my local Git repository knows that I have an update here. You can see the blue dots, and you can see the origin master and the master. So the master is local, origin master is on Bitbucket. And now we have to push this in order for it to show up on the website. So what we can do is we could actually go into the website. I can look at the source code again. Now, if I push this, I'm going to push the master thread. That's the one that's active. We have no other threads. So it's pushing. And now that is updated, and I should be able to go into my workspace here. If I click source code again, 3 minutes ago. So now if I click into this file, I can see that workspace, co-workspace has been added.
Yeah. So it seems to me that if we look aside all the voodoo that we did to make the workspace to connect to Git and everything, then you have to stage the files you want to upload. You want to have to commit it, or commit the files, and then you have to push them.
Yeah.
And the question is, of course, that okay, the stage commit thing is something to do with, as you said, what do you want to commit?
Yeah.
So in principle, you could have when you do a commit, you could have a checkbox in front of each file that says this one, and this one.
Yeah.
Instead of that thing called a stage. Only, of course, when you do the stage, you have the possibility or the ability to look at the code, which
Yeah.
is
So we can go in here and add a new file.
Yeah.
Let's see. New file. Let's call it our main.html. And we put some code here. And we save that. And then we also gonna create a mail form or something. So we create a new file, mail form.html. And here goes the mail form. We save that. So now we have two new files. You can see they are green here.
Yeah.
If we go into source tree, we can see that we have uncommitted changes. And here you can see the unstaged files down here. You can see the content of them. And if I want to push one of them to the repository, I click on the plus here, or I can say stage all in this one. You don't see that, I guess. The plus sign down here.
Yeah, I can see that.
And the stage all. And if I press plus, it will end up here. And then I'm just gonna press commit, because then I'm committing this change.
But you have to explain us what is it? What does it actually mean to commit? Because it surely doesn't mean to push.
No, exactly.
What does it mean?
Yeah, so we go back to fork again. Here we have the two new files. They are now not in any way controlled by source control. So I can delete them and nothing changes in the Git repository. So if I want to version control these files, I can start by staging main, and then I can write adding main file. And what I do now when I commit is I'm telling my local folder that this file should be in the version control. So I commit this. Now I can go in here and see that this file has been added. I can see the changes to it. And I can go back to master. And if I, for some reason, delete the mail form, so now I'm actually back. Oh, I need to check out.
What does checkout mean?
It means that, yeah, there. So now when I check out, if I go into my code here, you can see that the main, this file, main HTML, is no longer in my folder. It has been removed, because if you go into the folder structure here, you can see that the mail form was not part of this version of the system. So now I've checked out the older version of the system, which does not contain the main file. And the reason that you can still see the mail form is that this has not been committed to the version control. So it's not part of any version control. So that's why you can get conflicts if you have files here that are not in the version control and you try to pull down updates to those files. Then Git doesn't know what to do with them because there are some changes in the files that is not controlled by the version control system, and then you get a conflict. So that's usually what happened when you get a conflict. So
Yeah,
you should make sure that all of the files here are committed to the Git.
You know, I have to tell you, I still feel that I'm on very thin ice here. Because, okay, you checked out, but you also have a function called pull.
Yeah, that's actually pulling from. So if I go onto the website, or if you make a change to any file, so now that we committed the.
But when are you using the checkout, and when are you using pull?
Yeah, let's go there. First, I want to put this one in the version control as well. So I'm going to stage this one. And now if I want to add it to the same commit, because it's the same update, it's our initial kind of code base that we're creating, I can check this amend box and will actually be part of the, now right now I'm not in the head, so I get a warning here. But it's going to add it to the current commit I'm standing on. So it's going to add it with the git ignore, and I don't want to do that. So I want to go here and check out the add main file. So as I'm checking that out, we should get the file back. So now we have the main file back. And I go here and stage the mail form. If I amend, I'm going to add it to the commit I'm standing on, add main file. But I don't want to do that. I want to make this its own. So we call this add mail form feature.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I press commit.
Yeah.
And now I go back here and I can see that this one has been added. But it does not seem. Okay. It wasn't added to the master because I checked out it without the master for some reason. I've never done that before.
How does ordinary people use a system like this?
So I can check out the master and rebase master to here.
What does rebase mean?
It means that I'm moving the master branch over to this location. So it's like moving the head of the tree to this last commit. So my origin master that's still on Git or Bitbucket does not have the new main files. It only have the git ignore file. My local Git does have these two files. So if we go in here, there's nothing changed. And if I go in here, there are no updates on any files. They are all in version control. Git is happy. So now I can go back to this one. I can go back to this one, or I can keep this one. Perhaps I can, let's see, there are a lot of things you can do, but they are a bit scary, but reset master to here. I could reset the master to this. But then it will remove the entire commit I did earlier. So now it's changed again.
Oh, wow. And you sit here and wonder where all your files went just suddenly.
No, the files are still here. We just deleted it from Git. So we need to check, yes, we are on the master thread. And then we can actually copy. No, they deleted the recent commit label as well. Adding the mail form commit. And here we go. So now we want to push these changes out to our Git so we know that they are safely in the cloud where they should be. And we get rid of these dots, and this origin master should be at the same place as the master. So then we do a push. And we push the master. And now we're up and running. So if I go back to the browser here and update the source code, this one is on the master. So we should actually see all the files now. And there they are.
Magic. Wow.
So now if you download or clone this repository, you will get all these files. Now, I'm going to actually do an edit in here. So I have some code, but I want to have the mail form inside of this main HTML. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to add some code here that says include mail form.html. And obviously this is not code, it's just something.
Yeah. That's the easy part.
and here we can do just write included mail in main form.
I note that there were no staging of the files here, only commit.
Yeah, that's because currently I'm only looking at this single file. So I don't need to stage because the file I'm committing is, I can show you that in the other one as well. So I'm actually on the file, and that's the file I'm committing. So I don't have to stage it if it's only one file. So now you can see that we have some changes. And the thing is, if I go to the questionnaire now, we have updated this 22 seconds ago. Yeah. And if I now go back here, this one will kind of update from time to time and check if it is up to date. But if it doesn't do that directly, you can do a fetch.
A fetch?
Yes.
But how is that different from pull?
The fetch only looks at what's up on the Git repository. It doesn't do anything. It only checks if there's something new there.
Okay, and then?
So if I click fetch, I can see that the master is ahead of my master, my local.
Yeah.
So there are some updates here that I can actually go in and look at and see, okay, these changes has been made. Do I want these changes or do I want to ignore them? So that way I can go in and do a pull, because right now, if I go back here and look in the main HTML, there's nothing here more than the original code I wrote.
Okay.
So I'm only looking, kind of browsing. I'm not downloading anything.
Okay.
And you can see there is a one and an arrow down here.
To me, it looks exactly like a G rune.
Like
Gandalf.
Like
When
Gandalf.
you look at new branch, for instance, up there in the middle, new branch.
Yeah.
There, that looks like a G rune to me.
Okay.
You know, in the runing alphabet, that is the sign of Gandalf. Very appropriate.
Okay. Yeah. But it's actually branching. So it's
Okay. My bad. I'm sorry.
but that's a good transition over to using branches.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I do a pull and I pull from the master, and I should get these updates. And now if I go into the code, you can see that the include mail form has been added to my file.
Yeah.
You now know the basics of using Git. And if you're on a small project or you work on a project on your own, this is fully sufficient to keep tracks of your updates. But if you want to do larger projects or keep track of releases and do branches, then you want to stick around for next week, where we dive deeper into those kind of things. Looking forward to see you then. Bye-bye.